All right. So what is your name?
My name's Carlos Manuel Vasquez.
Okay. And so what do you do here?
I'm an instructor.
You're an instructor. Okay. How long have you been instructing?
I've been instructing for a little over 15 years now.
15 years. All right. So what do you practice here?
Here we do Shaolin Meiwa,
Okay.
Sanda, and Swaija.
Okay. So what is Swanda?
Sanda,
Sanda. Sorry.
yeah, Sanda. Sanda translates to free hit. The easiest translation is basically it's Chinese kickboxing,
Okay.
but it's a little more complicated than that. But that's the easiest translation.
Okay. So how does that compare to point fighting?
Point fighting is light contact.
Light
So
contact.
when you hit, yeah, so when in point sparring, you can't hit somebody hard enough where their head snaps back. There's no leg kicks, there's no throws. Everything's controlled. So you're just going for technique and speed. Sanda's full contact.
Okay. So point fighting would be like more efficient and.
Not efficient, it's more of a tool.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a tool. So you could train in point sparring, but at one point or another, if you want to really learn to defend yourself and fight, you have to free spar, which is full contact.
Sanda.
Sanda, yeah.
Okay.
Sanda, MMA, boxing, anything like that, anything that's full contact. You
Okay.
have to at least try it so that way you could get a grasp of what it's really like, or else you'll be limited.
Okay. So point fighting is just like trying to learn better, I suppose. Okay. And how long does it take to be proficient?
Everybody's different.
Okay.
Everybody's different. Depends how much you put into it. If some people, they're naturally gifted. They might be flexible naturally and stuff like that. But then when they get hit, they can't take a hit. So
Okay.
for them, it might take longer. Somebody might not be so flexible, but they can take a hit, so they can train longer. So they might be better at it a little faster. Everybody's different.
Okay.
Same thing. As much as you put into it, that's how much you're gonna get out.
Can you define proficiency?
Hitting and not getting hit.
Hitting and not getting hit?
Yep.
Okay. How long have you been practicing?
A little over 23 years.
23 years? Okay. So is it safe to say you're a black belt?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many teachers have you studied under?
One.
One?
I've
That
had
would be
coaches.
Mr. Lee?
Andrew Lee, yeah.
Okay.
I've had a couple of coaches before that, but they were really just coaches. They weren't really instructors or teaching me. And then
Okay.
after that, once I met him when I was 15. That's been my only teacher.
Okay. So how old are you?
I'm going to be 36.
36. Okay. So what I guess would be the difference between coaching and teaching?
To teach is basically you're showing somebody a new technique. You're showing them a different avenue
Okay.
of doing the technique. Just basically you're giving them something new. Coaching is really where you take the person and their skill set and you try to make them go another level.
Okay.
So they're different sets. They're not the same thing.
All right.
So somebody can be a really good coach and be a horrible teacher. And vice versa. Somebody can be a really good teacher and not that good of a coach.
Okay. So is Sanda safe?
Yeah. Yeah, if you practice it.
Okay.
Just like anything else. If you don't practice basketball and you jump up and you fall on your butt, it's not going to feel good.
No.
Right? So if you practice, yeah, it's safe. It's as
Okay.
safe as any other contact sport. You just have to go into it knowing that.
So is Sanda part of Plum Flower?
Yes.
Okay.
Sanda, basically when you do Meiwa Chuan or Shaolin, Plum Flower, any Chinese martial art, you have your forms, which is your open hand techniques, which is what you see people, their routines, their choreographed routines to
Mhm.
teach you techniques. Then you have weapons, which is the same thing. Then
Okay.
you have Sanda, which is where you put all that stuff into action and you practice it.
Okay. So Sanda is basically like a like what you, not what you do, but what you perform.
Kind of, yeah, kind of. So just think, like for instance, like if you see a boxer and they're shadow boxing,
Yeah.
right? That would be like our form of our forms. But then when you see the boxer fighting, that's when he's practicing his art. That's Sanda. Sanda is you're practicing.
Okay.
You're actually practicing the art. You're doing what you've been practicing the whole time.
All right. So you said there's different forms of Shaolin?
Yeah.
Okay. How many different forms?
There's
Too many to count?
Too many to count. Too many to
Okay.
count. Too many to count.
Mainland China, there's 230 some odd
Yeah.
sides.
Wow.
Right, just in mainland China.
Okay.
Yeah. But you basically, you separate, before you used to separate them by north and south.
Okay.
Okay, now you separate them a little more detailed. Now there's north, south, there's also mainland China, there's Taiwan, and there's Hong Kong.
Okay.
And all of them might do Shaolin or some sort of Chinese martial art, but they have little tweaks that are just a little different. That's how you could separate them.
Okay.
Right.
So you teach the children, right?
I teach children and adults.
Okay. So what do you, on like a first exercise, first training with them, what would be like your first thing to cover?
If we're doing Sanda, the first thing to cover is your stance and to keep your hands up.
Okay.
When it comes to martial arts, the most important thing is defense.
Defense.
Yeah, it's self-defense.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, it's defense. And that's the thing. When you have really good defense, it opens up the other person to get hit. But when
Okay.
your defense is not good and all you're thinking about is hitting the other person, you leave yourself wide open.
Right.
So defense is the number one priority. So first thing, if you're doing Sanda class, first thing you're going to learn is how to stand up properly and how to keep your hands up properly. Because even
Okay.
with that, there's different ways of holding your hands up to protect yourself.
So what would be the right and the wrong way?
Well, the wrong way is keeping your hands down.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot.
Okay.
Especially when I'm not going to say beginners, I'm saying just in general, fighters, period.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first things that happens to fighters when they get tired is they drop their hands. And that's why if you see any professional fights, that's why round one, they don't hit each other that much because they're fresh.
Okay.
Then you go into the deeper rounds, all of a sudden they're hitting each other. Why is that? It's because they're tired and they're making mistakes and they're dropping their hands. And
Okay.
that's the first thing. A lot of the drills that we do, you might see them and they might look like, oh, what's that person doing? Well, that person's building strength in the shoulders and the arms to keep their hands up, to protect
Right.
themselves. Right?
So endurance and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know. How long have you been training here?
A little over, what am I, 36, so a little, like 23 years.
23 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
training, yeah. Just training, yeah.
So how many students do you have?
I have, myself, I used to have a handful of students. I only have like 5 or 7 students
Okay.
that are just like my students.
And how many do you coach?
Oh, I coach all of them almost. Oh, as far as coaching, pretty much the students here too. I can't say I'm their instructor here. I'm really more of their coach here.
Okay.
It's, like I said, there's a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So.
Anything else I should add? I don't know. All right.
Wait, I got one.
Okay.
Swai Jiao.
Swai Jiao?
Yeah, Swai Jiao is Chinese wrestling,
Okay.
and basically it's comparable to like when someone's like asking about. It's comparable to judo.
Judo?
Yeah,
Uh,
they're similar. They're kind of similar in the sense that Swai Jiao is you're grabbing the person, you're throwing the person. You
Yeah.
can subdue the person, you can submit them. There's also submissions in Chinese martial arts.
Okay.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand. They don't, either they haven't practiced it, so they don't know it, so they'll just omit it all completely,
Yeah, just complete.
or
Being
they're not,
naive.
they're not too proficient in it, so they won't even try it.
Okay.
But yeah, so, and as far as when you talk about fighting, you got your hands,
Yep.
which is, punching distance, kicking distance, you got your joint manipulation, and then you got your wrestling.
So, which is Swai Jiao?
Swai Jiao is the wrestling. And,
Okay.
and in the wrestling part, there's submissions, there's throwing, there's trips, there's dumps, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So what would be the hands called?
Hands is just their standard,
hands?
just the hands, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then legs is legs.
Legs, yeah.
So
It's
why
just
is
a
Swai Jiao differently named? Why
kick.
is
Because
it
it's
just
a
wrestling?
completely separate art,
Okay.
right? So like for instance, for Sanda, right? Sanda, you can do punches, kicks, and throws. But there's no joint manipulation, and there's no submissions.
Okay.
In Swai Jiao, there's no punches, there's no kicks. but there's joint manipulation, there's throws, and depending on who or where you're practicing, there's also submissions. So you can make a person tap out, all that stuff.
Okay.
The one thing that's different between, for instance, Sanda and Swaja, one thing they have in common is when you practice it, most of the times they practice on the lei tai. And a lei tai is an elevated ring. It has
Okay.
no ropes. And one of the things that you want to do on a lei tai to somebody is you want to throw them off of it. If you throw them off the lei tai, you win.
Okay.
Which is different compared to Thai boxing, Western boxing, K1 rules kickboxing, or even MMA, which is in a cage. So, you know, that's a big difference in those styles compared to like American.
Okay.